Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang para tamu undangan, para pembicara, dan rekan-rekan dari DNA Forensik yang kami hormati. Atas nama panitia penyelenggara, saya Muji Nofrita dengan senang hati menyambut rekan-rekan semua dalam workshop perkenalan CODIS. Hari ini kita akan memulai perjalanan transformasi untuk meningkatkan kemampuan investigasi penyidik Kepolisian Negara Republik Indonesia melalui integrasi sistem indeks DNA terpadu atau disebut dengan Combined DNA Index System yang disingkat dengan CODIS. Kami merasa terhormat dengan kehadiran para ahli terkemuka di bidang ini, terutama Bapak John Rafcorn dari ISITAP, Brigadir Jenderal Polisi Prima Heru, dan Bapak Surap Maria dari Gordon Thomas Honeywell Governmental Affairs, DNA for Asia. Kami juga menyambut hangat Bapak Robert Laverty dari FBI dan Bapak Eusebio Lopez Reyes yang akan hadir bersama kita melalui online, yang akan membagi tentang wawasan dan keahlian mereka masing-masing. Terima kasih kepada semua peserta juga atas kehadiran yang baik hadir melalui online dan offline, dan juga dedikasi dan rekan-rekan dalam memajukan ilmu forensik dan penegakan hukum di Indonesia. Sedikit saya akan memberikan rundown. Agenda kita kali ini adalah yang pertama pembukaan oleh Direktur Eksekutif ISITAP Bapak John Rafcorn, lalu dilanjutkan pembukaan oleh Karolab DNA Pusdokes Polri, Brigjen Pol Prima Heru, dan selanjutnya akan ada perkenalan dan presentasi dari Regional Director DNA for Asia, Bapak Surap Maria, lalu dilanjutkan dengan presentasi mengenai CODIS oleh FBI Legal Attaché, Bapak Robert Laverty, dilanjutkan oleh Bapak Eusebio Lopez Reyes yang akan memberikan presentasi mengenai DNA National Database di Spanyol. Mari kita mulai workshop ini dengan pembukaan oleh Bapak John Rafcorn. Kami persilahkan.
Good afternoon and welcome to the ISITAP office. Simultaneous. Okay, sorry. I didn't know it was being simultaneous. I was waiting for somebody to start talking. I'm John Rafcorn, and I'm the Law Enforcement Assistant Attaché for ISITAP. If you don't know what ISITAP is and who we are the International Criminal Investigative Training Assistance Program from the Department of Justice in the United States. And we are just a small, very small component of the resources and assistance that the U.S. Embassy provides to the government of Indonesia. Our main partner is the Indonesian National Police, but we work across several other ministries. And as she said, I'm John Rafcorn. Prior to coming to Indonesia, I spent 32 years in law enforcement in California, working my way up from brigadier to a chief of police. And along the way, obviously, DNA, because I'm an old person, DNA started being incorporated into pretty much everyday life of law enforcement within the United States. But when I first started, it was kind of a wish down the line. And now it's readily available, it's readily accessible, and it is having direct results. What CODIS does, if you don't know, and I'm going to let the experts talk about it more than I do, it blends forensic science and computer technology into a tool that enables law enforcement agencies within the country to share profiles electronically, thereby linking serial violent crimes to one another. Because as we know, and it's in the United States and throughout the world, crime has no boundaries. What's happening here in Jakarta could be happening in Bogor, could be happening in Bandung. And law enforcement here and in the United States, we don't always communicate as well as we should. So electronic programs like CODIS helps us communicate electronically, and we get results. Obviously, CODIS has criminal investigative potential behind it. It actually has the ability to solve crimes for us, because again, most law enforcement officers, they're only as good as their last case. And with these types of tools like CODIS, it helps us with the next case and the next case after that, and it makes us really look good. And then public safety, of course, it helps put violent offenders behind bars that need to, thus protecting the public. It also makes the criminal justice system more efficiency. If we can get people with rock solid cases, get them prosecuted and get them behind bars, it helps the whole system and it frees up resources to go investigate other cases. And lastly, there's human rights protection in regard to CODIS. It makes sure the right person's going to jail. And if you watch the United States, every once in a while, once a month, twice a month, you'll see somebody who was put in jail 20, 30 years ago. They were wrongfully placed in jail. And now when they're starting to retest some of the DNA, we're finding out the people we thought were guilty, that court systems thought were guilty, we're actually getting them released. So again, it protects human rights to make sure the right people are getting put behind bars. Overall, we've talked about here in Indonesia, my colleague and former colleague who ran our forensic project here for numerous years, we've talked about CODIS here in Indonesia on a few occasions, but having a room like this, a lot of people who are interested in CODIS hopefully gets us to another level where we can actually start talking about implementation, because it's not an easy process, and my colleague will explain it. To get from A to Z, or from the beginning of the alphabet to the end of the alphabet, it takes time, it takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of cooperation between countries. But it has been done. It's being done in Thailand, right? It's already implemented in Thailand, and Vietnam's working towards that way, and several other countries here in Southeast Asia. So again, it can be done, the hurdles can be jumped, and we can get to where we need to be. Again, overall, the implementation of CODIS Indonesia can greatly improve the efficiency for all of us here in law enforcement. And again, it's a wonderful tool. I saw it implemented somewhere at the beginning of my career, and it really helps law enforcement out in the United States. Again, welcome to the ISATAP office. If you're unaware, right out the door you walked in, right across the hallway is the men's restroom, and right down the hallway is the women's restroom. If there's anything we can do, my staff or I can do for you, please let us know. We want to make it as comfortable as possible so you can learn as much from these experts who are in the room. And again, take this information back. We can stir about it, talk about it, and hopefully move forward with CODIS. Again, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Pak. Pembukaan selanjutnya kami persilahkan Brigadir Jenderal Primaheru untuk membuka pelatihan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera bagi kita sekalian. Salam, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Yang saya hormati Asisten Atase ISITEP untuk Indonesia, Mr. John Rupkop. Yang saya hormati representatif DNA for Asia, Mr. Saurabh Maria, para pembicara, para peserta, yang saya hormati FBI Legal Ethics Mr. Robert, Spy National DNA Database, Administrasi Mr. Eusebio Lopez Reyes, dan hadirin undangan sekalian. Pertama dan utama, mari kita panjatkan puji syukur pada Tuhan Yang Maha Esa bahwa dengan berkat dan rahmat-Nya kita bisa kumpul dalam acara pembukaan workshop Combined DNA Index System atau CODIS ini. Hadirin yang saya hormati, berdasarkan keputusan Kapolri nomor Cap 798/6/2023 tanggal 21 Juni 2023 yang mengacu kepada Peraturan Presiden Republik Indonesia nomor 54 tahun 2022, di mana Pusdokes Polri merupakan unsur pendukung Polri yang dipimpin oleh Kapusdokes dengan pangkat Irjen Polisi dengan dibantu 5 Dirjen, yaitu Kepala Rumah Sakit Bayangkara tingkat 1 Pusdokes Polri, Sespusdokes, karo Dokpol, karo Kespol, dan karo Lab Pusdokes Polri. Di mana Biro Lab Dokes Polri sendiri adalah salah satu biro yang baru dibentuk di dalamnya Pusdokes Polri, di mana biro ini menaungi bidang lab, yaitu lab DNA dan lab biomedik, di mana biomedik ada beberapa lab juga, yaitu toksikologi, histologi, dan mikrobiologi. Biro Lab Pusdokes ini merupakan suatu kekuatan baru bagi Dokes Polri dalam memberikan dukungan di bidang lab pada tugas-tugas kepolisian, khususnya pengungkapan kasus tindak pidana dan identifikasi korban bencana. Hadirin yang berbahagia, dalam bidang penegakan hukum yang dinamis dan terus berkembang, saat ini Kepolisian Negara Republik Indonesia tanpa lelah terus mengembangkan diri melalui pendekatan inovatif untuk meningkatkan kemampuan dan kualitas investigasi tindak pidana kriminal. Meskipun metode konvensional saat ini masih menjadi pilihan utama dalam investigasi kriminal, tidak dapat dipungkiri bahwa metode ini memiliki keterbatasan di era di mana pelaku tindak kriminal semakin canggih. Dalam konteks inilah integrasi penggunaan ilmu sains dalam proses investigasi menjadi sebuah langkah yang besar untuk merubah paradigma investigasi kriminal Polri. Sudah lama Polri menerapkan penggunaan analisis DNA dalam pengungkapan kasus tindak pidana kriminal dan identifikasi korban bencana. Penggunaan analisis DNA telah terbukti meningkatkan akurasi dan kecepatan dalam mengidentifikasi pelaku kejahatan, serta meningkatkan efektivitas dalam identifikasi korban bencana. Beberapa kasus penting yang berhasil ditangani oleh Prolab Pusdokes Polri, yaitu dengan analisa DNA antara lain peristiwa kecelakaan lalu lintas di ruas tol Jakarta Cikampek KM 58, di mana di situ ada 11 korban, ada 12 korban, 11 korban teridentifikasi karena DNA. Pengungkapan pelaku tindak pidana pembunuhan Dr. Mawarti di Nabire, Papua, dan pengungkapan jaringan tindak pidana terorisme bom Astana Anyar yang akan kami jelaskan lebih lanjut. Pada akhir tahun 2022 telah terjadi peristiwa bom bunuh diri di Polsek Astana Anyar, Bandung, di mana menyebabkan korban 1 anggota Polri tewas dan 11 korban lainnya terluka. Setelah dilakukan analisis DNA, ditemukan kecocokan profil DNA dari bank data DNA kriminal Pusdokes Polri yang dimiliki oleh Pusdokes Polri, sehingga pelaku pengeboman tersebut dapat teridentifikasi sebagai atau dengan nama AS, ya, kami pakai inisial AS alias AM. Profil DNA AS atau alias AM telah diambil sebelumnya dan tersimpan di dalam database DNA kriminal Pusdokes Polri. Hadirin yang sekalian, meskipun demikian, penerapan analisis DNA dalam pengungkapan kasus kriminal masih terkendala oleh belum tersedianya sistem penyimpanan dan pencarian dan pencocokan database DNA secara terpadu. Sistem yang komprehensif dan terintegrasi sangat penting untuk mendeteksi dan akurasi dalam identifikasi pelaku kejahatan di mana tanpa sistem yang memadai, proses identifikasi profil DNA dari TKP menjadi lebih sulit dan memakan waktu. CODIS atau Combined DNA Index System adalah pengelolaan database DNA yang digunakan oleh lembaga penegak hukum di Amerika Serikat. Sistem ini dikembangkan oleh FBI untuk membantu penyelidikan kriminal dengan menghubungkan bukti dari DNA TKP dengan profil DNA dari tersangka atau narapidana dan individu lainnya yang datanya telah dimasukkan ke dalam database. Hal ini membuat penyidik mampu mengidentifikasi pelaku berulang dan meningkatkan kemungkinan penyelesaian kasus yang sebelumnya tidak terpecahkan. Para hadirin sekalian, penyelenggaraan workshop CODIS ini merupakan salah satu perwujudan nyata komitmen Polri dalam mengabsorpsi metodologi ilmiah mutakhir guna melayani dan melindungi rakyat Indonesia. Pada kesempatan ini kami menyampaikan apresiasi yang sebesar-besarnya kepada Kompolnas dan DNA Forensik, DNA for Asia atas dukungannya yang konsisten dan berkelanjutan dalam membangun database DNA di Indonesia. Tidak lupa juga kami ucapkan banyak terima kasih kepada ISITEP yang telah menyelenggarakan workshop CODIS ini. Semoga melalui workshop ini, CODIS ini kita mendapatkan kesempatan untuk belajar dan memperdalam pemahaman mengenai sistem pengelolaan database DNA secara terpadu untuk penegakan hukum di Indonesia yang lebih presisi. Demikian sambutan saya untuk workshop CODIS ini. Semoga Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, Tuhan Yang Maha Esa, senantiasa memberikan petunjuk, bimbingan kepada kita sekalian dalam melaksanakan tugas pengabdian kepada masyarakat bangsa negara. Sekian, terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Santi Santi Om.
Terima kasih, Jenderal. Thank you for John Rafcorn and then Brigadier General Prima for the opening speech. So the next session, I welcome Mr. Surapmaya from the DNA for Asia.
Good afternoon, everyone. Some of you might know me. I know some of you, and it's very nice to be here today. At the outset, I would like to thank our gracious hosts, John and ECTAP for hosting this, and of course the FBI for partnering with us. Many times we see that we are all working towards the same goal, so it's always good to join hands and work together towards that. For those who don't know us, we are DNA for Asia, and DNA for Asia is actually an advocacy group that works. We are supported by GTH Consulting, which is based in the US. Our mission is actually to promote a sustainable way of doing forensic DNA around the world. As you know, forensic DNA is a very complex and a sensitive technology. It is a very powerful technology, and it has to be handled responsibly. So our job is to make sure that we can help countries like Indonesia bring the best systems in DNA forensics, the best technologies available out there, and use them in the most effective way to do exactly what John and General Prima mentioned, to fight crime, to exonerate the innocent, and of course to identify missing persons and bring closure to families. So I won't take much time because we have experts, law enforcement experts who actually do this for a living. But what I will do is right now I'll just set it up. I'll just give you some context of why we are doing this and why CODIS is important. So firstly, we have worked with around 60 countries and working in more actually, but 60 countries right now have a viable DNA database. And what I would show you is the 5 steps that we have learned, how we progress whenever we want to build a DNA database. What is the best way to approach this? Yeah, great, thank you. So first of all, major policy decisions prior to moving forward, topics that are best defined in a legislation or decree. Now, we are already working on this front. We have been working in Indonesia for the last 4 years to submit a proposal to the government to draft a legislation, to form a committee to draft a legislation on DNA. So we are in the right step. During this time and even before, there has been some legislation and some orders passed by the INP. Great, thank you. Some orders passed by the INP to allow for limited databasing. For example, Densus and Pusdokus, how they have been able to collect samples of terrorists and avoid in fact generate intelligence and also prosecute some of the people who are involved, like Bandung bombing that General Prima was mentioning. So that's the first step. Then is develop laboratory capacity expansion plan, which we are moving ahead in that space. I'm happy to say that. But the next thing becomes is, okay, you have the intent, you have the policy, but what about the software? Because DNA database is a combination of science and of bioscience and technology, IT, right? So that is the next major step. Sorry, it's not working. Pointed. Sorry, technical issues. It's okay. I think you can just roll with me. It's not too long. So and yes, there is developing database regulations. Quality is very important because this is a complex technology. I don't need to preach to the choir. You know how important it is to maintain quality, and because if there is no quality, then it's garbage in, garbage out, right? So that is very important. And lastly, implementation in phases. So I would just like to, like I said, this is what we are discussing today. And for this, since, like I said, I have worked with, we have worked with several countries, and today we see that there is one major software, and it's not just a software. CODIS is actually an idea. CODIS is a system, right, which was developed like more than 30 years back. And it has been strengthened over time by lots of testing, by lots of there have been the kinks that were found were removed, and over the 30 years the software has matured. Can I go to the next slide, please? Right. So you can see here 60 countries have implemented national programs, over 250 million offender profiles all over the world. And next one, please. Yeah. And one more click, please. So which DNA database software to choose, CODIS versus other systems? Well, the decision is yours completely, but 51 countries. How much in percentage is that? Yeah, 85%. 85% of all database users use CODIS. So that there must be something up to it. This is, as John was mentioning, Thailand signed CODIS like around, I think, maybe 12 years back. And they have, Thailand has two agencies, as you know, CIFS and Royal Thai Police. CIFS already has it. Some of you will be going to AFSN later next month, actually, and you might be able to see how they work with CODIS. The US government has also helped Vietnam get CODIS. Now, Vietnam has a small pilot project right now. They haven't been able to go forward with using CODIS, but we are still working with them to expand their database and help them use CODIS. So this reminds us the sign-in agreement is not the only solution. We have to implement it. Next. So like I said, it's important, of course, to choose a software, but the software also comes with the guides you to develop an architecture. How do you go about developing the architecture? And we will be talking. Our DFP, our LEGAT, Rob Lafferty will be talking more about that. So I won't touch this more. But as you know, there are different indices and different users. These are the levels of CODIS in the US. Again, Rob is going to be talking more about this, so I won't get into that. This is just one thing I wanted to, and you can roll it. You can show all the figures. What I wanted to show was that the success of a database. Now you have a terrorist database, and I think maybe you have 2,000 or 3,000 profiles in that, maybe more if I'm outdated. But the bigger the database, the bigger the success. So as you can see, countries who only do sex offenders have 5% hit rate. If you add violent offenders to that, it goes to 10. Similarly, if you add property crimes, it goes 20, and if you add all crimes, then 45. In UK, the hit rate is 66%. What does that mean? That means if there are 10 crimes reported, then 6 to 7 times you have a suspect, you have somebody, you have a lead, because of the database. And mainly, this is what I wanted to talk about. And just lastly, I think if you just go to my last slide. So there was suspense there. So advantages of CODIS. Now, what, I'm going to just touch upon this broadly, and Rob is going to talk more about this, but cost benefits. I cannot emphasize more on this, that this is not a commercial software. This is made for the government. This is by the government for governments. This helps you, as you know, commercial software, there is a lot of, there's a big budget that you have to set aside for them for maintenance. And, I would rather that you use that money for other things, to buy consumables, to buy other machinery, rather than spend on a software which is available to you virtually free. Then the other one is, of course, FBI training and support. Like I said, this is a community. There's a global community of more than 50 countries. So, of course, that means you are helped by FBI, but you're also helped by other countries who are using CODIS. So there's a lot of cross-learning, cross-pollination. And finally, you're part, like I said, this is links to the second point, that you're part of a growing global community of law enforcement. So I would only end by saying that there are enough reasons already to do this. Lots of countries we're working. In fact, I'm working with 4 countries in Asia right now to get them onto CODIS, including my own country, India, Thailand, Royal Thai Police. We are helping them as well. Nepal. And as you know, Indonesia. I hope that they can have, they can see the value in CODIS, and we will see how from Rob and later from Eusebio, who is actually, I don't know if you got a chance to know who he is. He is the manager. He manages CODIS for the whole of Spain. So Spain has a hierarchy, has a lot of small databases which connect to the big database. And Eusebio has been generous enough to be there with us online and show you how he does it in Spain. So I hope you learned something today, and hope we can take this forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Surab. So Surab gave the overview about the CODIS, but now Mr. Rob Loverty will give the presentation about CODIS software.
Selamat siang, Ibu, Bapak. My name is Rob Lafferty. I'm with the FBI. I'm the legal attaché at the U.S. Embassy. I'm not a DNA expert. I'm an investigator, but I did receive this presentation from the FBI laboratory, from the CODIS unit. And so that unit is responsible for developing the CODIS software, but also managing our national database for CODIS DNA. So unfortunately, they weren't able to come out here this time, but they did send me some notes to speak to. And if you have any questions, please just raise your hand and let me know. I will try to answer any questions you have, but if not, then I will reach back to the CODIS unit and get you the answers to your questions. So consider me the bridge between Polri and the CODIS unit at the FBI laboratory. Next slide. So that's what CODIS stands for. I imagine you already know this, but the Combined DNA Index System. And really, as it was already previously mentioned, it just blends that forensic science with the computer technology to be used as a tool for linking crimes together. And it also, it's used to assist in identification of unidentified human remains. So I'm not sure if that's something that Indonesia also does with missing persons, but that's it's a very powerful tool to help us locate people. Next slide. Okay, what is a database? A database, self-explanatory, it's just a collection of information that allows you to be able to search it. And so that's the most important part, is being able to search it. And the CODIS software is, and we'll talk about this more in depth, but we break it down to different categories and indexes to help us quickly search the profiles that are in the software. Next slide. And so we really have two main categories. We have the criminal database, which includes criminals, the offenders, but then we also have evidence that we collect from a crime scene. So if we just find a pool of blood, we'll take a sample of that. We're not sure who it belongs to. We'll put that into our CODIS database. And then the other part, the other category is really the identify the missing persons. So if we have a report that someone went missing, we will collect DNA from the family members, from the mother, the father, siblings, and things like that to help us. If we do find human remains, then we can quickly determine if that's related or not. Next slide, please. So this is just the history of CODIS in the United States. It started out as a pilot project, you see, in 1990. And as you may know, the United States, we have 50 different states. And so the FBI has the national laboratory, but then each of the 50 states have their own state laboratory. And then many larger cities have a city laboratory. So, and they're all within the police law enforcement community. So we were trying to figure out a way to link them all together to quickly search. Because as Pat John mentioned earlier, if one crime was conducted in Maryland, another crime in California, we may not know prior to having the software if they're connected or not. So the federal law that gave us the FBI the authority to create this CODIS software is the DNA Identification Act of 1994. And that just allows us to create a national program for DNA collection. And then over the years, we started adding amendments to it to give us increase our authority and how we're able to search it and use and what profiles can be stored in the software. So it took several years to actually get to where we are now. So I imagine if Indonesia does decide to adopt CODIS, it will also be likely it'll change over several years as you implement and figure out ways to improve the system. Next slide. Okay, now we'll talk about more about the indexes. And as I mentioned, we have the criminal and then the missing persons. And so this just allows us to, it makes it more efficient to actually search all the DNA profiles that are ingested into the CODIS software. And then within each of these indexes, offenders, forensic, missing persons, we have subcategories as well. And so if I'm not sure if Indonesia has something similar to this or not, but we do, in the United States, we have to obtain authority from the court in order to take DNA from a criminal. And so it's something that once person is arrested and processed and convicted of a crime, then the judge will say, you may take the DNA sample of that person. But until then, we still need permission from the court if they haven't been convicted of a crime at that point. And then some of the things for detainees, like when we're in a combat zone and maybe in Syria or Iraq, we often swabbed some of the terrorists that we captured. Now, forensics, this is more of the crime scene where we're collecting evidence. We may not know who it belongs to, but we'll try to identify all the different biological substances there to take DNA from. And then missing persons, this is probably the most powerful tool we have to identify people when they go missing. And so oftentimes we will, like I mentioned, we will take samples from family members and then it'll just help if we were able to find a missing person or human remains, we're able to quickly link that. And then I'm not sure if you've heard of pedigree tree index. We'll talk about that in a minute, if that's something that you have. I don't know much about it, but I know it does make it more efficient to make queries in the DNA system. Next slide. The missing person. So in 2000, we established the National Missing Person DNA Database within CODIS. And we also added the pedigree tree searching, which is basically where you're linking how people are connected. So mother, father, brother, sister, aunt, uncle. It just makes it more efficient that way. Next slide. So this is the graphical representation of the pedigree tree. You may have heard family tree, pedigree tree. Is that something that you've recognized, that you've seen before? Next slide. Okay, so that was most about the CODIS software itself and how it's categorized. And the second part of the presentation will be more if Indonesia decides to use CODIS, what actually will happen from that point on, and how we work with the Indonesian National Police. Next slide. So federal law in the United States gives the FBI authority to share CODIS software with foreign partners. And a couple of the requirements are, it has to be a law enforcement agency like Polri, and it has to be a government lab. So it couldn't be a civilian lab. And then the process, the way it would work, if you decide to implement CODIS, would be you would just send a official letter to my office, and I would give that back to our FBI laboratory, saying that Indonesia would like to be considered to obtain CODIS software. Fairly informal process. Next slide. And then from there, the lawyers will get involved, and we'll have to do a letter of agreement. But we have these already, several of them with the Indonesian National Police already, so it wouldn't be that difficult. But some of the best practices that we have with other countries that have taken CODIS is that we'll have Kapolri sign the letter, and we'll have 2 letters in the original signature. It'll be given to me. I'll take it back to the laboratory, and then the director of the laboratory will sign it, and then sign both of them, and then the one will come back to Indonesia. Or we could just fly the person out to Indonesia, and we could have a ceremony and have the kind of a ceremonial signature at that point. And I would just like to mention that the CODIS software is free, and so there's no cost to it. I'm not sure exactly how much the rapid DNA costs Indonesia right now, but I imagine it's expensive with all the updates and everything like that. So it's hard to argue with something that is free. The only catch is there are some costs associated with this. You know, you have to have the computer system, the servers, which I think you already have. So that's should be much easier to do. And then when we do make the decision that the FBI will share the CODIS software, we'll have a team from the CODIS unit come to Indonesia, and then they will provide training for your people to actually use the system. And so the cost will be associated with flying them out here, putting them in a hotel and things like that. So, but it's not going to be super expensive. Next slide. And then we will have, once we decide we want to do this and we want to have CODIS software here, then we'll have to get all the technical experts like yourself, and I'll link them up with the technical experts at the CODIS unit to talk about how it would actually work, take a look at your computer systems to make sure it will handle it. But we also want to make sure, you know, the laboratory is ready to use it and all that. So these are all the things that will take place prior to that FBI team coming here. And then your country's DNA laws, we want to make sure that it is sufficient, that it allows you to collect the profiles and things like that. Next slide. And then once you do have the CODIS software, of course, the FBI is here to assist in any way. There's a help desk. If you have questions on if any problems come up, you can always reach out to them, and they can answer any questions you have. And then as the software is updated, that'll continue to be updated on your systems. So it's one of those things that just, as the systems improve, it'll keep updating. Next slide. And then as Pat Saurabh mentioned earlier, we have CODIS in approximately 60 countries and in over 100 labs. And so you may see, several of your neighbors within Asia that have implemented CODIS software. And it's important to mention that if Indonesia decides to take the CODIS, that your system is not linked to the FBI's national DNA system. So there's no communication between the systems. We can't see the Indonesian system, and you cannot see the United States system. So it's private. Next slide. And then I have a couple slides on the resources available. Next slide. And so the CODIS has a website that you may go to. It has all the information about the laws that we have. If you need to adopt new laws within your system, then you can take some of the language from that. It also has just guides on how to use the CODIS system, things like that. So very, very useful website to bookmark. Next slide. And then there's also a scientific working group that's a good resource for you if you decide to use this. And they have all of these technical testings that you can reach out to them. You can download from their website and different publications to obtain to help you as well. Next slide. And that's the conclusion of the presentation. Happy to answer any questions you may have. And like I said, if I don't have the answers, I will make a note and we'll get back to you with those answers.
Thank you, Pak Rob. I can see there's some questions, but can we wait for Eusebio? Okay, yeah. Don't worry, Pak. I can see a lot of questions. So the last and not least, we'll see Mr. Eusebio Reyes from Spain, who will describe what's CODIS in implementation in Spain. He will give presentation by online. Can we connect?
Sorry, can you listen to me right now?
Yes, we can hear you, but we cannot see you. Just wait a moment.
Yeah.
Good morning. It must be morning in Spain. Hello.
It's in the morning here.
Yeah, good morning. So
Good
the
morning.
online room is for you. Yeah, we can see you. Okay. All right, go
Can you
ahead.
see the,
Yes, we
yeah,
can.
can you see me right now? Can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can see the presentation. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. We are going to put the slides. Can you see the slide move? Can you
Yes,
confirm that?
not
Yeah.
moving, but we can see the PowerPoint presentation.
You couldn't see the move of the slides?
No.
No?
Maybe you should
Let me
change the slide mode. Yeah, that's moving. That is second PowerPoint.
Yeah, and right now?
Yes.
Can you see the move?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, okay. Thank you very much. My name is Eusebio López Reyes. I'm an expert of DNA. I have been working during 15 years in the DNA laboratory of the Spanish National Police. And then 6 years ago, the Ministry of Interior in the Secretary of State gave me the opportunity to be the manager, the custodian of the DNA database here in Spain. For this reason, I consider very important that the person that is in charge of the DNA database has an experience or are an expert in the management of the DNA and to have the knowledge related with the DNA to development properly and working better in the use of the DNA database. Okay. Well, my presentation is related obviously with the DNA database in management, and obviously the perspective that we can afford to you from Spain after 24 years working with the DNA database and specifically using the software of CODIS, okay? For Spain, a very valuable software, and that gives us a lot of opportunity to working properly with the genetic profiles that we obtain, not only in the criminal cases, because it's very important for resolve the crimes, but it's very important for us in the identification of unidentified person, unidentified human remains, in the case that we found a corpse that don't have the possibility to identify using fingerprints or other technical methods for the identification of persons. For me, obviously, it's a privilege, an honor to be here with all of you, with the Indonesian expert, and obviously a responsibility. I appreciate so much the opportunity that Sarubat and Gordon Thomas Honewell gave to me to make this presentation, and I hope you like it, okay? Well, I usually like to start with a short introductions related with the forensic genetics, because although it's a young discipline, have suffered in a very short time a tremendous evolution, becoming a science with its own entity and distancing from the legal medicine and the genetics in general. As great events of the evolution of the forensic genetics, far are the studies of the blocks, groups, ABO system studies in the 19th, going through the human leukocyte antigens in 1915, the DNA fingerprint, the genetic footprint, discovered by Alex Jeffries in 1985, when they studied the first polymorphic regions, the variable number of tandem repeats, and then obviously the discover the appearance of the PCR from Mullis in 1986, allowing to us to do the in vitro specific region of the genome. Then the use of the STR, the microsatellite regions that allow to use better the PCR to be considerably increased. And obviously, I'm not going to speak about the NGS, the next generation sequencing, but the next important evolution was the creation of the first database in the United Kingdom in 1995. And in the same period of time, the software CODIS from the EVI in the United States. The creation of the DNA database are fundamental for the laboratories to exponentially increase the possibility of identification with the use of DNA, but for different reasons, it's not assumed in the same way by the different countries, which is an important obstacle to exploit all the possibilities offered of criminal acts, among other things, with the use of DNA. The DNA database are essential to development the full potential of the DNA in solving crimes and identify unidentified person, and their establishment in a country that has invested in setting up genetic laboratories, acquiring expensive tools and robotic platforms for extraction, quantification, and DNA amplification, in addition to training their staff, is like having a Ferrari, like me the expression, it's like having a Ferrari parked at the door, but you can't drive it because you don't have gasoline to fill it up, okay? You have an incredible laboratory with a training personnel, but you only have the possibility to solve the 5% approximately of the crimes if we don't have a DNA database to compare the different genetic profiles that you obtain in the different laboratories. For tell you the evolution of the software and the installation of the software here in Spain, CODIS was installed in the year 2000 by the National Police here in Spain. At that moment of time, there were a few software available, only in United Kingdom, Germany, Austria are the European countries with database installed. Obviously, behind the software was the FBI. We are not going to say that is a perfect institution, but obviously they are very close. And software development by the FBI for Spain is synonymous with success in most situations. And the final important circumstances that you need to evaluate when you are to determine if you are going to accredit a software is to determine what is the cost, what is the money, what is the budget that you have to spend. Yeah.
Excuse me, Mr. Eusebio. Just want to checking in. Is it? Are we talking about the second slide?
Yeah, we are in the different slide. You couldn't see the movement.
No, yeah, we see the second slide because probably it's best if you do the slideshow.
Sorry, let me 1 second.
Yeah.
1 second, because I think that there's any problem in the movement. Okay, I'm going to share. Let me 1 second, please. I'm sorry. Share. I try to share the full screen.
Oh, or is that one?
Yeah, right now, it's possible to see the movement.
Yes. Nah.
Right now?
Much better. Not much better. Thank you.
I'm sorry. There is a problem that we have with the share of the screen here in this room. It's so high and so big, but there is. Okay, I want to show you the previous picture. Do you see that right now?
Yep.
The previous slide. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. This is the initial presentation about the evolution of the DNA. Okay, and the important that we need to have related with the implementation of the DNA. And I was speaking about the 3 evaluation that we have related with the implementation of a software. And I was speaking about that for us, it's important to determine what is the budget that we have to spend in the software. And this is the phase that we put when the FBI say to us that is a free software, okay? And obviously was a good decision for us to take a free software, and not only because you don't need to invest money, you have a very powerful software in order to manage your DNA database. It's important for us because you have the support of the help desk person that is working all the year, 24 hours every day, all the 365 days in the year, and 24 years later, we consider that this software for us has been the best choice that we can take in order to manage the genetic profiles that we analyze here in Spain. You can see the next slide, please. You can confirm me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, okay, I would like to show you, like Sarubat explained at the presentation, that in Spain we have a hierarchy of the genetic profiles, a hierarchy of CODIS, okay? We have the National Police that is working normally in the big cities, usually a population over 30,000 persons. Right now you have 6 laboratories in the different part of Spain. Then we have the Civil War. It's a national police, but with connotation of military police, okay? And usually is working in the small citizens with usually a population of less than 30,000 persons. And the National Police and the Civil War have the same competence in our country, but obviously with this connotation, no? The National Police is a civil police, and the Civil War is a military prize, okay? Then finally, we have at the national level, the National Institute of Toxicology, that is depending from the Ministry of Justice, okay, and have 4 laboratories in Spain. This is the 3 national level laboratory, the 3 institutions that is working in all Spain. But then we have another 3 institution, policial institution, that is working in a specific region of Spain, okay? First of all, the Chinese working, has competent in the País Vasco region. Then we have the Mossos d'Esquadra that is working in Catalonia, in this specific region of Spain. And finally, the National Police of Navarra that is working in the community that bears his name, okay? All of these laboratories is working with forensic cases, criminal cases, and for person that related with unidentified human remains, unidentified person, okay? And all of them constitute the hierarchy of DNA database, the hierarchy of CODIS here in Spain. As you can see, the software CODIS is not only a powerful software in order to manage the genetic profiles, is a software that gives different countries the possibility to have this kind of hierarchy of CODIS, okay? That I'm going to show you in the next slide. Well, as you can see here, the National Police was the first institutions that installed the software of CODIS, okay? And then when we suffered the terrorist attack of Madrid, the 11th of March in 2004, was the moment that Spain considered important to share the different genetic profiles from the different institutions. No? At that moment, the National Police and the Civil War was the institution that have the high level of genetic profiles, and this is the moment in which we constitute the national DNA database in order to coordinate the searches of the different institutions that you can see here, okay? Every day, every institution have developed his own search in the local laboratory, and then they have to upload the genetic profiles in order to search in the national database, okay? With the year, the other institutions was incorporated at this hierarchy of CODIS. Mossos d'Esquadra in 2007, Der China in 2008, National Institute of Toxicology in 2010, and finally the National Police of Navarra in 2012. And this is the actual hierarchy of CODIS that we are working here in Spain from 2012. As you can see here, every laboratory development his own auto search, the genetic profiles that is stored in the local, in the LDs laboratories, and then they have to send these genetic profiles at the national level in order to search the different genetic profiles that have analyzed from the different institutions in the different DNA laboratories. Well, in order to show you what is the configuration of the auto search that we have developed here in Spain, you can see here that we have one file. This file is called INT-SAIP, is the genetic identification of biological trace and the samples with no origin in order to clarify crimes and cooperate with the justice here in the core of the different justice core of Spain. We have what index. As you know, CODIS is working with index, okay? When you include the different specimen categories, the different genetic profiles, as you can see here, the forensic unknown, the due suspect, convicted offender, suspect known, juvenile, and low template DNA is the different specific category that we include in this index, okay? And every day we develop this auto search we call generic against generics with these specimen categories included in this index, okay? And the criteria that right now is used in order to report the match is the age lossy to require it to report a match and two possible mismatch with the stringency of high, Obviously, as you know, we have in a lot of cases, every day we have more result with in the mixtures because, well, the kit of extraction and the amplification, as you know, are more powerful. This is the reason that we increase the number of the mixture that we can find in the different cases. And we have a specific index in CODIS with the genetic profiles, with the specimen category of forensic mixtures and low template DNA mixtures. Obviously, we have to develop an auto search between the index of generate when we introduce the pure profiles with the genetic profile of mixture, okay? At that time, we developed two different auto search. One of these is to use the 10 loci required to report a match to zero mismatch. We don't let the possibility of any mistake in this search. And obviously in the exigency of moderate, because right now we don't want to find a perfect match. We want to find the compatibility of the pure profiles with the mixtures, okay? And then we have another auto search with another search with 11 loci, and we permit only one possible mismatch. You can see here, no? We have verified in the cases of mixtures that is this the best way to check the existence of compatibilities in our database with these two different auto search, okay? Then, as you can see here, in order to show what is the powerful that is have the software, the last year, using this auto search, Spain clarified more than 5,000 crimes with the auto search that we develop right now with CODIS in our country, only during the last year, no? More than 1,000 in the national search, okay? And more than 4,000 in the local search, okay? And then we have the possibility, because when we develop the auto search, it's not only to clarify crimes, we use them in order to link the same person that have committed different crimes in our country. And although we don't have arrested this person, we have the knowledge that is the same person committed these crimes. And the last year, like you can see here in the screen, we link more than 6,000 crimes related to the same person that have committed the same crimes, but until this moment, we have not arrested this person in order to identify the different crimes in which this person have participated. This is a screen where I would like to show you the different crimes that I told you before. In the national level, we find more than 1,000 crimes, to clarify more than 1,000 crimes. You can see here 22 homicides, more than 200 sexual aggressions, and near to 500 burglary between the different crimes that the legislation here in Spain led us to take the DNA sample of a person that have been arrested, okay? And this is the more than 4,000 crimes that we have the possibility to clarify with the local search, with the local search that development, the 6 institutions that right now is working with CODIS. You can see here more than 164 homicides, 157 sexual aggression, and near to 3,000 burglaries related with persons that have led in the crime stem the DNA that give us the possibility to identify with the search in the DNA database. In the other hand, we have the other file. This file is the INT Phoenix. Is the file that we create here in Spain with the purpose of genetic identification of missing person and unidentified corpse for public, social, and judicial interest. We have one index created with the social interest, with the specimen category unidentified person and unidentified human remains. Then we have the other index for included the genetic profiles of the relatives, biological father, biological mother, sibling, child, maternal relative, and paternal relative. And we every day develop the auto search between these two index, social interest and relatives. In this case, we use the criteria of 9 loci record to report a compatibility and zero mismatch, and obviously the stringency that we use in that case is in low, okay? As you know, we have another possibility to identify the person that we find like unidentified person and unidentified human remains, and we use the index of missing person with two specimen category, the missing person and the deduced missing person. These two specimen category is related with the samples that we collected from the person in life. No, for example, the personal items that you use usually in your house in order to clean your teeth, in order to clean your hair. We obviously have the possibility to identify the genetic profile of the person, and obviously we development the auto search with the unidentified person and unidentified human remains in order to identify this person with the items that we collected in the house, the personal items that we collected this from his house. In this case, we use the criteria of odd X loci to report a match, and we give the possibility to two mismatch. Okay, in this case, obviously using the criteria of high. The last year, with this auto search, the Spanish database have the possibility to identify 201 corpses. For this reason, CODIS is not only a tool that gives us the possibility to clarify crimes, it's a very powerful tool that we have the possibility to identify unidentified person and unidentified human remains. Well, something that I consider very much important to transmit to the Indonesian expert in DNA is that it's mandatory to have a regulatory institution related with the management of the DNA database. In space, we have two levels of control. The first level that have its own regulation is the creation of the National Commission of Forensic of DNA Use. In this case, is depending from the Ministry of Justice, because the DNA database, the management of the DNA database is depending from the Ministry of Interior, is we call is depending from the police, okay? But in this case, this first level of control is the National Commission is depending from the Ministry of Justice, okay? Usually, this commission is responsible to establish what is the scientific standards, what is the special accreditation system that the different laboratories need in order to introduce, in order to store the genetic profiles in the DNA database, and establish what is the quality controls that must be submitted to the laboratories to carry out this analysis, and obviously to include them in the DNA database. As you can see here in the screen, there are two fundamental requirements that the National Commission exceeds from the different laboratories. And the first of all is to all the laboratories must pass mandatory at least one annual external quality control from among the different following recognized by International Society of the Forensic Genetics or from the European Forensic Science Institute, respectively. As you can see here in the screen, is the quality control of the polymorphism of the Spanish and Portuguese group of the International Society of Forensic Genetics, or if the laboratory prefer, the quality control of the DNA polymorphism of the German group of the International Society of Forensic Genetics, IRNAP, okay? And the second requirement from the different laboratories is to present the documentation that determines, that accredit that they have passed the ISO 7025 standard accreditation is the requirement for all the laboratories that in Spain have analysis DNA profiles, and then if they want to introduce them in the DNA database, okay? And then the other regulatory institution is as we call the committee. This committee is called the Committee for the Regulation and Coordination of the National Identifiers Management System obtaining from DNA. This committee is formed for the different institutions that right now is working in the DNA laboratory. And there is an expert, okay, an expert of the DNA, and there are an expert in the control and the management of the DNA laboratory, okay? between the different functions that they have this committee, we determine what is the shared criteria that we are going to implement in every year, what is the security policies that we are going to apply in the management of the DNA database, what is the requirement for a good coordination between the different institutions, because as you see, there is different institutions introduce genetic profiles, and it's very much important, the correct coordination in order to, in the second step, when we have a match, when we have a hit, or any result that we obtain from the DNA database, it's very much important to share the information linked with the person that is behind the genetic profiles in order to communicate them to the core, okay? We establish what is the new implementation that we require to implement in the DNA database, and development whatever training and practice that is necessary in order that all institutions have the possibility to manage adequately the working with the DNA database, okay? Well, something that is very much important, I have enough time to tell you that, is that the DNA database is not a stable items, if we can call them item, okay? And because every year, we need to manage and to overcome the challenges that are presented to us, no? And thanks to the continuous evolution of the software of CODIS, give us the possibility to continue to improve the possibility to search adequately the different situations in which we can find when we are working with the DNA database. In related with the latest improvements that we are introducing in Spain, is using different modules on tools of CODIS, like the previous presentation of Robert, speaking about the pedigree tree, okay? And in Spain, 5-6 years ago, we find that the increase of the number of the unidentified person that we have stored in the DNA database and the family checkers, the person, the relatives that try to find the person disappear in the families, give us a lot of problem related with the adventitious matches, okay? The adventitious matches, as you know, is the possibility that you can find a not real match in the DNA database, and is very linked with the auto-sharing law, okay? The compatibilities in law. The first problem that we find is that if you, for example, have two families, you have the father or you have the mother, CODIS is working separately, okay? They develop the auto-search, and in the case, for example, that the father, the one person, is compatibility with the unidentified person, they offer this compatibility, although the mother is not compatibility with this person. The result of that is that we find a lot of adventitious matches that is very difficult to determine if it is a real match or it is not a real match, okay? Then, well, as you can see here, is a possible compatibility with the biological father, but finally is not, because the mother is not the biological mother at the end, okay? The other important problems that we find is in the case that you try to find a person over second degree. The algorithm of auto-search in law is efficiently only in the case that you try to find a person in first degree, okay, the father, mother, or child. But it's very, 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 very difficult to find a person using this auto-search in law in the case that you try to find a brother, a sister, an uncle, and grandfather, grandmother, okay? Because as you know, the possibility to have two brothers finally have the same alleles, the inherit of the alleles, the loci from the father and mother, is very, very, very difficult, no? There is an expression that we use here in Spain, and there is brother or sister, although they are from the same father and mother, finally, they are similar as an egg to a chestnut. It is a reality, no? There is brothers that they have not share a lot of loci because the inherit of the alleles from father and mother, okay? For this reason, in more than 95% of the cases, it's very, very, very difficult to find a person with auto-search in law in the DNA database, okay? With the implementation of the module of Pedigree Manager, first of all, we have an important possibility because we development the pedigree tree the families that we try to find a unidentified person or unidentified human remain, we have integrate in the same pedigree tree. It's very much important because in these cases that you have a person in the first degree, decrease considerably the number of adventitious matches because CODIS is working with the two family circles at the same time, okay? And another important advantage that we have with this module is that we only not going to working with STR. We have the possibility to integrate the Y chromosome and the mitochondrial DNA in the same auto search. This obviously gives us more possibility to find this kind of person, okay? And in the other side, very important for us is to eliminate the adventitious matches because for Spain, 5 years ago, as I told you previously, it has been a very important problem for us, okay? And another important thing, no? In the case that you have two brothers, the unidentified person and the familiar child that we try to find his brother or his sister, in the case that is not compatible for STRs, that is very possible, that is not compatible, you have the possibility to develop this auto-share using mitochondrial DNA and Y chromosome, okay? This is a very important advantage because with the implementation in Spain 5 years ago, with the module pedigree manager, with the pedigree tree, we find different brother seekers or sister seekers that we have stored in our DNA database, but they are not compatible with STR, and with auto-search and law, CODIS not give us this compatibility. With the implementation of the pedigree manager, we have the possibility to find these brothers, okay? Another challenge, important challenge that gives us the possibility to overcome is from the familiar search, okay? In Spain, we have two important problems with these two cases, with these two situations. When we have a woman who has an abortion or a living child as a result of a sexual assault, okay? We have the abortion or we have the living child, and give us, with the use of the module of pedigree tree, give us the possibility to integrate it in the pedigree tree module, the victim of the, in this case, the living child, in order to find what is the criminal, what is the person responsible to commit this crime, no? This sexual aggression in the moment in which they finally, the victim was pregnant because this sexual aggression, okay? And in the other side, we have the unidentified bodies of babies that appears in the garbage dump, or finally the mother and the father that don't want to take care about this child, and obviously they eliminate them from his life, no? And when we find this kind of situation, the module pedigree tree gives us the possibility to develop this kind of search in order to find the mother and father, but father and mother that finally they want not to take care about the child, okay? This is a very good possibility that offers the implementation of the pedigree tree. The pedigree tree is working with the likelihood ratio, okay? And you need to establish what is the minimum number of loci that you want to find in the auto search. And they obviously, they give you a rank related what is the possible person that is a family person related in these two situations that give us a very important possibility to working properly in these two specific cases that we find in the DNA database. I remember the first time that we developed this auto search in the year 2019, when a woman reported a sexual assault suffering in 2018, the result of which she became pregnant and a girl was born for this sexual aggression, no? We developed two different searches. First of all, with the pedigree tree of the victim and the girl in these cases, and the DNA database offer with a very high likelihood ratio what is the person that was responsible for this sexual aggression. And in the second auto search that we developed, in this case is only with the birth. Obviously, we have here a rank of the different person that we compatible with the father of the child, but obviously was the same person that is offered in the previous auto search with the victim included in the pedigree tree, that is what the same person responsible, or the CODIS offer us with the possible person that is the father of this child, and finally was arrested, and right now is in jail for this sexual aggression that this time finally become a pregnant person for this sexual assault, okay? Well, other point that is very much important for Spain, because we have been working with the use of Y chromosome during more than 20 years. And as you know, the Y chromosome is exclusive to males and is inherited only from the father. But for Spain, it's very much important in two different situations. To the identification of unidentified person, where they are only paternal relatives, males, and when we find a mixtures in sexual assault, because it's very much important to us to determine what is the number of the male contributors from these mixtures, okay? As you know, usually is typically in sexual crimes where there is no ejaculation of the aggressor, that we have a very low quantity of autosomal STR for the sexual aggression, and we have a very high number of cells of the victim. The result of this situation is that you only have the result of the STR victim, but we have the possibility to have the haplotype, the Y chromosome haplotype, that is possible to obtain in this evaluation, in this analysis, okay? Well, the Y chromosome is useful for different reasons, but in these cases, in Spain, 3 years ago, we started working with the use of Y chromosomes in order to find the possible person responsible for the different crimes. Right now, we have near to 65,000 profiles of Y chromosomes, okay? And in the case that we have a low number of STR of the criminal, of the sexual aggressor, and we have the Y chromosome, in that case, we have the possibility to develop an autosert using only the Y chromosome. The difference when we use Y chromosome from the STR is that we need the authorization of the core of the US in order that we have the possibility to develop this kind of autosert, because as you know, these autosert have the connotation of familiar search. We can find the criminal, but we can find another male related with this person from the same family, related with the inherit of the Y chromosome, as you know, okay? But there is another possibility that CODIS offer to us in order to exploit all the possibility that this offer the DNA database, and obviously using the software CODIS. Well, for finish my presentation, I would like to share with all of you that the success that we have with CODIS, that we have with the DNA database, is not only at national level. In Europe, there is a treaty of Schengen. This treaty of Schengen gives the possibility to the different citizens that is living in Europe, the possibility to move between all the countries without any control in the borders, okay? But obviously, also we have moved between all European countries freely. This gives the possibility to the criminal to move in the same way, no? For this reason, in the moment that the border of Europe is open, the number of criminals that move between Europe is increased, no? Obviously related with the criminal organization that have a lot of power in order to commit different types of crime, okay? This required from Europe to need an evolution related with the possibility to exchange the genetic profiles at European level, okay? For this reason, in 2007, there was a lot of meeting related with the possibility that the different European countries can share the genetic profiles in real time. We determined only two specimen categories, one of the person arrested, or the convicted offender, and in the other side, the same linked with the different samples, okay? For the reason, every day, we not only in Spain, we not only develop the national search, we send all the genetic profiles that we don't clarify to the different European countries, and at the same time, the different European countries send us these genetic profiles in order to clarify crimes and in order to identify a person, okay? Spain right now is currently operational with 23 European countries. I want to show you what is the number. And in order to show you what is the success of this international exchange, the last year, Spain had the possibility to clarify more than 1,000 crimes related with this exchange of genetic profiles in the perpetrators in Europe. And the other 23 European countries have the possibility to clarify more than 1,000 crimes because of the send of the genetic profiles to Spain, okay? Obviously, we have the possibility to link different crimes. In these cases, we have in Spain 452 crimes that we link. We don't know what is the person responsible, but we know that this is the same person. And as I told you, the exchange of genetic profiles inside PRUM gives you the possibility to send the unidentified human remains, unidentified person, in order to identify this person. No? Spain, the last year, identified 11 unidentified human remains thanks to the exchange of genetic profiles in the PRUM territory. Another important advantage that we have when we share the genetic profiles of the different countries is a real cases that you can see here, in which we have the possibility to see what is the movement of a person like a GPS that is moving over Europe. This person started committed crimes in Slovakia, then going to Finland, then go to Slovakia, Germany, France, and finally was arrested here in Spain, okay? This gives a lot of information from the police in order to study this criminal group that is operating in Europe, and obviously give us the possibility to working not only to clarify the crimes, it's important to develop the forensic intelligence information that is very useful for the person that is working in the judicial unit, and in order to working properly with the DNA database, not only to clarify crimes, to give this important information, okay? Obviously, as I told you, the exchange of genetic profiles in the PRUM territory give us the possibility to send the unidentified person and the unidentified human remains, because if this person, the unidentified person or unidentified human remain, has been arrested in a previous time in the different countries, or in the case that they have a missing person or a deduced missing person sample in other countries, give us the possibility to identify with this exchange. The exchange of genetic profiles in Europe is useful for us for criminal reasons, but it's useful for us for unidentified person and unidentified human remains, okay? And well, there is only a picture that I want to show you. This is the criminal group that is working in Europe, that is called the Big Panther. I think that is very knowledge group that is working, that is committing different crimes in Europe related with jewelry. They obtain a big profit. They are a paramilitary person from Serbia that have committed a lot of crimes, a very important crimes over Europe, as this is the information that we obtain only with the management of the DNA database. We know what is the person that is joined together, committing different types of crimes. We know what is the movement over Europe. They were in Austria, in Romania, in Spain, in Netherlands, in France, and we have the possibility, only with use of CODIS, only with the use of the DNA database, to have this picture, this screen, that is very much important and very useful for the person that is in charge of the investigation, from the person that is working in the judicial unit, sorry, okay? For this reason, CODIS is not only important for clarify crimes, for identify the person related with unidentified person and unidentified human remains, is very useful if you have time, obviously, if you have a good team that can work in this kind of situation in order to give more information to the different person that is working in the judicial unit, okay? Well, for finish, there is only 2 slides that I want to present. There is, it's not all is perfect, okay, in the exchange of PRUM. One of the most important problems that we have right now is that the DNA database of Europe are very ancient, okay? We have genetic profiles stored for a long period of time, and usually the number of loci is very low. For this reason, specific countries like Germany, like Netherlands, like Austria, that have a very large period of time working with the DNA database, and for the impossibility to reanalyze, for the impossibility to use another kit to increase the number of loci, they have genetic profiles with only 7, 8, 9 loci, and this is the information right now is exchanging in Prune, okay? We right now have, for half a match in Europe, for half a match in the chain of Prune, the genetic profiles in Europe, only we require 6 loci to report a match, and we let one mismatch, no? This obviously give one problem, and the problem is that we have a high number of adventitious matches in this chain, and this have put over the table this problematic, but it's very difficult to change that, okay? The different countries that consider important to change this rule are speaking about that right now we have a new kit of amplification, the fusion cis-color or global filer, that give us the possibility to have 23 loci, 21 loci in the genetic profiles. The number of the genetic profile that we have stored in Europe is very high. The incorporation of the United Kingdom, of Italy in this chain, I think that we are speaking about 20 million of genetic profiles that we share inside Europe. And obviously, for us, it's a fraud. No, the exchange of 6 loci is a fraud because the number of adventitious matches that we have is very high. When I start working in the DNA database, I developed a study related with what is the number of adventitious matches that we have in the chain of genetic profiles in Europe. And this is from 2015, is the period of time that we chose to analyze these adventitious matches. And as you can see here, Spain have in this year 46 adventitious matches with France, 26 with Germany, and 21 with Netherlands. The number of adventitious matches is very high in the chain of genetic profile in Prune. It's not the best situation right now, but it's one of the problems that we have, no? In order that you have knowledge about that, the exchange of genetic profiles is not all the time perfect, okay? Well, okay, and another problem that we have right now, well, the proposal of Spain is to increase the loci required to report a match to 7 or loci. Right now is have different meetings in Europe because we are going to working in the next thread of Prune 2 that give us the possibility not to exchange only genetic profiles. We are going to exchange fingerprint and a smoke shot, imagine of the people. And well, there is a proposal from Spain and other countries in order to increase this number of loci to exchange with the different European countries, okay? In order to reduce this high number of adventitious matches that we find in this exchange. Well, we usually consider the recommendation of the FBI, the recommendation of the United States. This is the evolution of CODIS, CODIS 7, 8, and 9. And with the new evolution, the FBI is increased the number of adventitious of loci required to report a match. In CODIS 7, there is 9 loci, in CODIS 8, 11, and right now, the United States is working with 13 loci to require to report a match because obviously, the high number of genetic profiles you store it in your DNA database, the high number of adventitious matches you have if you are not very restrictive in the auto search, and we not require a high number of loci to report a match, okay? And finally, it's very much important in the case that we have a match, what is the information that we exchange with the different countries, no? And right now, one of the most important problems that we have is that the regulation, the legislation in the different countries is different. In Spain, for example, there is no problem to exchange the affiliation data, the DNA collection, the moment and reason, and the fingerprints of arrested people, of a suspect people, okay? But other countries require the authorization of the court, the authorization of the judge. Obviously, if we want to be efficient in the exchange of genetic profiles in Europe, and to be something that the policial units can use properly, I think that it's very much important to eliminate the intervention of the judge, because the judge is determined to have another work, and to give the possibility to the police unit to exchange this information in order to be more efficiency in the chain of genetic profiles inside the prune search. Okay. And finally, my last slide is I think that it's very much important to be clear with the society. I think that we need to show what is the good work that we are doing in the management of the DNA database. And for this reason, from this national administration of the DNA database, we report, is the sixth year, we report an annual police report in Spain in order to show the good work that done the different forensic laboratory, and what is the important useless of this tool, the important use of the DNA database, the important use of CODIS, the software from the FBI. And I think that it's very much important to be transparency. As you know, the DNA is something that the citizens understand, that we have information from them that we can use in not a proper way. And I think that if we put in a publication the transparency of the use, the clarity to the society, I think it's better for us. No, it's better to communicate to the society that we are working properly, that we are very protected with the data protection of the person, and obviously that the goal of the DNA database is only to clarify crimes. It's only to try to identify person and identify human remains. We don't want the genetic profile of a person in the DNA database. Is not for criminal reason, or if not for the social reason, no, in order to identify the person disappear or the unidentified person or unidentified human remains. And from Spain, it's a recommendation to put or to send to the citizen, to the society in your country, an annual report related with the use of the software, with the different information that you manage in the DNA database, in order to have this acceptation from the people of your country, and they perceive the value and the important success that we obtain with the management of the DNA database. Okay. And well, for me, it has been a great pleasure to share with you the knowledge that we have in the management of the DNA database in Spain. You have here my email in the case that you have give any question more large or something that you have curiosity to know related with the management of the DNA database. And well, I open to any question that you have related with the use of this software, the use of CODIS, and the management of the DNA database in your country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So now we are open for the question and answer session. Is there any question from the floor? Oh, permohonan maaf, Bapak Rob harus kembali ke kantor, tapi beliau pesan kalau ada pertanyaan akan dicatat, nanti akan diberikan melalui email. Oh, cool. Maybe. So I have one question for you.
Yeah.
So do you think CODIS will be able to do the disaster victim identification as well?
Yes.
Yes, sure. Yes.
Sure.
Oh.
Oh, go ahead.
No, don't worry. Yeah.
Oh.
In fact, in Spain, we have the circumstances that we have to use CODIS in this situation. We have this Spanair accident of a plane that is going to Madrid to Canarias, and Spain has participated in another DBI disaster. And CODIS is a powerful tool in order to develop identification in this case of situation. In Spain, 2 years ago, I developed a simulacro using CODIS in order to be what is the powerful of the pedigree tree and what is the limitation that we find when we try to do identification of person in the DBI disaster. And we have a very, very, very good result. And the different institutions are so happy for the implementation of the pedigree tree for this kind of search.
Great.
Yep.
Additional?
He said it exactly right.
Okay. So, mohon izin Bapak mungkin bisa rekomendasi ke Karodokpol ya untuk DVI karena kemarin ketemu masih belum ada. Terima kasih, thank you. One more question? Oh. Oh, sure.
Eusebio, thanks a lot for your presentation. There's just one thing I wanted to highlight. It's more of a highlight, and if you can elaborate more on this. You mentioned that you also have a YSTR database, a Y chromosome database, and I would like you to just highlight that once again, because I think that is a very important tool to fight sexual assault, sexual crime. Like you said, it sometimes gets difficult to solve that with autosomal. So if you can talk a little more about that, because Indonesia, like many countries in Asia, has a sexual violence problem as well.
Yeah, sure, Sarubat. The use of Y chromosome for us is very much important. We have the knowledge that 20 years ago that it will be in the future a good tool in order to find in a specific situation the person in charge of the different crimes. No, for this reason, all the arrested people, all the suspects that we have here in our DNA database, we're speaking about near to 500,000 genetic profiles of the different arrested people. The 90% of these persons have the Y chromosome analysis here in our country, okay? Until 2 years ago, we don't use the Y chromosome because we need to speak with the National Commission of the DNA. We have to elaborate different tests in CODIS in order to determine it is efficiently for us to work with Y chromosomes. And we have found in the last 2 years, we have developed more than 200 search using Y chromosome, and we have obtained a subset of the 25% of the cases. We have a result in order to investigate. Obviously, with Y chromosome, when we have a match, it's not the person in charge of the crime. Sometimes yes, it's the person responsible of the crimes, but it's possible that these were whatever relative, male relative, a brother, a cousin, her father, or a grandfather, and give us the possibility to start an investigation in order to find what is the person in charge of this kind of crime. As you know, Sarubat and the rest of the person in the room meeting, normally the person that commit this kind of crime, the sexual rapist, the sexual aggression, usually repeat the crimes. It's a crime that usually the people with the time is going to repeat and repeat because it's something related with the personality of this person, and it's very difficult to change the mind of this person. No? For this reason, in these cases, the success is very high. As I told you, the 25% of the cases that we are investigating, we had a good result in order to continue working with them. And for us, it has been a big revolution. What is the problem or what is the challenge? We need to explain that to the judge properly. We need to explain that a Y chromosome match is not the person in charge of the crime, and is a connotation of familiar search. And obviously, we need the authorization of the judge, because we are not only investigating the person in charge of the crime, we are investigators of the male relatives of this person. And for this reason, in Spain, is what a final decision of the National DNA Commission in Spain determined that if we need to search Y chromosome in the Spanish database, we require the authorization of the judge related with the crime. We want to be efficiently in our work, but we want to do it properly. The judge is the person in charge to decide if we can do this kind of auto search or not. Okay, it's very important and very essential for us. Okay.
Hello, Mr. Eusebio. I'm Ivan from DNA Lab. I have a question for you. If we get a DNA profile from the crime scene and then it mixture DNA profiles, do you have experience of using CODIS to solve this problem? Thank you.
No, the mixture, as you know, is difficult to evaluate for the expert. obviously, because it's not the same a matching high. Okay, with the criteria high, it's very easy for us. If you have a match with 10 loci, it's a match. It is the person that live in the crime scene, the DNA. Okay. In the case of the mixture, when we have a compatibility with the mixture in CODIS, okay, the software is working properly. You have all the person compatibility with this mixture, but it's not a decision of the DNA database. We send this compatibility to the laboratory, and the laboratory have to study the lecture program in order to determine if this candidate, the pre-profile, is compatibility with the mixture. Okay, it's very much important for us. The national database is the coordination of the search. We give the result to the different institutions, but obviously the decision is not from the person in CODIS. The decision is from the expert, the person that have analyzed the sample, the person that have the possible person in charge of the crime, and is the person that have the mixture in the lecture program with the peaks, with the allele, in order to determine if this person that the DNA database offered to you is possible the person compatible with the mixture. Normally, although CODIS gives you the possibility to include a mixture of 3 or 4 persons, the recommendation of Spain is to include the mixture from maximum 2 persons. 2 persons in the mixture, because in the case you have 3 or 4 persons, the number of compatibilities is so high that it's very, very, very difficult to determine is all these. I remember, for example, that we have a very important crime, an homicide, and we included a mixture of 4 persons in CODIS, and we have more than 1,000 compatibility persons. It's impossible to evaluate them, okay? Because with 4 persons, if you have 8 loci in one marker, it's possible that a lot of persons here in the room have compatibility with this mixture, okay? For this reason, the recommendation that we follow is to use a mixture only with 2 persons in charge. It's possible that we have a mixture of 3 persons and you have the victim, or you have one of the other person that have perpetrated the crime. And in this case, we have flexible, but if we have a pure mixture, we usually introduce in CODIS the mixture of 2 persons, okay?
Okay, thank you. And how about if we just get a partial profile, let's say 20 locus we find out of 21? Thank you.
Okay, never there is a perfect match. Never is a perfect match, okay? If you have, if you are analyzing in your laboratory with identifier, you know that you have 15 loci. If you are working with global filer, you have 21. If you are working with fusion, you have 23. The most important is what is the number of loci that you are going to require to report a match. And this is linked directly with the likelihood ratio, okay? Usually in Spain, only when we have a match with 10 loci is the information that we consider like a value match. And this is the information that we pass to the court. In the case that we have a match with less than 10 loci, we try to do the reamplification, because in Spain, we don't destroy the samples, the strand of DNA. In Spain, we have the possibility to reanalyze it. It's very much important for us, okay? But if we have a match with 8, 9, or 7 loci, for us, it's not valid. This is not a match that we report to the court, because it's possible that we are not give the correct information to the court, okay? I find 2 and 3 different persons that they have the same 9 loci, and they are different persons from different relatives, from different families. For this reason, the criteria that we use here in Spain is unless a match with 10 loci. If we have less, we don't communicate this to the court, and we consider a no match. I think that it's important to work in properly, and I prefer to catch a criminal more later than to give the information of an innocent people to the court, and that an innocent people going to the jail because a mistake of the DNA database. Okay.
Thank you. Mrs. John, would you like to add? No? Okay, great. So we have one online question from Yuda Nurhantari. Would you like to open the mic? Hi Yuda. Yuda. Hi Yuda. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. So.
Okay. All right then. So while we're waiting for Yuda, we are honored here to have the chief of DNA lab, Senior Superintendent Kus. Would you like to say something?
Let me talk in bahasa. Terima kasih untuk Pak John, Pak Syurab, dan Pak Eusebio. Pencerahan hari ini terkait dengan CODIS yang tentunya terus terang di kami di Pusdokes dan mungkin di Puslapor. Puslapor belum ada ya? Mbak Samia mana, Pak Wira? Oke. Terima kasih untuk pencerahannya hari ini. Dan tentunya untuk menggunakan ini kami tentunya butuh persetujuan dan koordinasi internal dengan rekan-rekan di Hubinter. Mungkin ada perwakilannya. Oke, nanti sampaikan salam ke Pak Krisna. Jadi kami membutuhkan koordinasi internal untuk penggunaan CODIS ini tentunya di dalam institusi Polri. Dan tentunya nanti juga regulasi-regulasi yang dibentuk kami belum ada yang sempurna, sudah ada beberapa tapi terus terang masih di lokal institusi saja. Saya rasa itu dan terima kasih banyak Pak John, Pak Syurab dan Pak Eusebio, juga Pak Robert belum ada. Oke, terima kasih banyak, terima kasih.
Thank you. So, is it the question from Melanie? Question for the speaker one. Do you think CODIS can be used for other positive things related to interests of the country, apart from its designation of crimes, disaster, and missing person, especially for Indonesia, which has many ethnic groups?
Its main function, obviously, is a criminal in nature. It's to define criminals. But it can also, as the speaker said very eloquently, it can also be used to identify victims of disasters. So as far as being able to use in other manners, I don't exactly know what they're asking. What would some of those other instances be?
It's mostly because, especially for Indonesia, we have many ethnic groups.
Genealogy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Again, that's going to be a policy and procedure that's going to have to be answered by Indonesia, whether it can be done. But obviously, it can be used for multiple to identify people and connect people through DNA. And so it can be used in a variety of different manners. But if Indonesia decides to go into the CODIS business, then it would have to be decided between them and the Department of Justice, the FBI, on how they're going to use it and when they're going to use it.
Okay.
But it can be used for a lot of different things. And in Spain, he brought up some very, very good instances where they're using it, again, to make sure people are innocent, but they're also using it to connect people to disasters and other types of crimes to the Y chromosome.
Yeah, thank you. So second question. Has there ever been any follow-up in the form of intervention for CODIS data that has similar characteristics? Example, in what fields?
Intervention?
Yeah. From intervention from CODIS data that has similar characteristics.
I don't understand where they're trying to.
Yeah. Is Melanie online so she can clarify the question? Okay. Let me go to another question. Okay. So question for Eusebio. Can you predict some prevention using the similarity of CODIS?
Well, I don't know exactly what is the current prevention of use DNA database. No, I think that all the people in our country know that there is a database where we introduce the genetic profiles. And obviously, the people have a lot of information related with the use of this software. And I think that if one person is a criminal, no? I know that, for example, Tim Selber told in different presentations what is the ratio. They have to do a study. I think that Sarwat have a lot of information related with that they know that the number of crimes decrease considerably if the people know that there is a DNA database. But here in Spain, we don't do this kind of study because we have been working with CODIS 24 years. And right now, I don't know exactly what is the number or what is the possibility that the people don't commit a crime because they know there is a DNA database. Like I know is that the person that has been arrested 20 years ago and is very related with the sexual aggression, in the case that they are in free, they try to commit the crime in another way in order not to fine or not to take the sample related with the crime that he got committing, because in the first time that they have been arrested, the DNA database gave us the possibility to identify the different crimes. I think that is very important to be clarified about the information, but I am not sure about what is the number of the crime that we prevent to commit with the use of this software.
And I would expand on the same thing in the United States. I don't think we keep track of the statistics showing how many crimes this prevents. I don't know if there would be a way to collect that type of information. Obviously, I can probably say that criminals know like that the DNA database is there. And so they try and get more sophisticated in how they commit their crimes to try and reduce their DNA footprint at the types of crimes. But I can't say, and I've never seen any type of information in the United States that says having the CODIS database prevented this many crimes. I've never seen that.
Okay. Yep, thank you. So I probably add a little bit, just like for pedophile case. So they would think kind of efek jerah. So if this person know that their DNA trace everywhere, they would think twice, right, to do the crime. That's.
You would hope so. You would hope that is, again, I in my mind, yes, I think it's probably prevented some people from committing crimes. However, there are no statistical analysis that I've seen, like I said, that we can give a number on it's prevented 20% of the crimes or 10% of the crimes. I've never seen that. But in my mind, I can say, yes, a criminal might not have done this particular crime knowing that DNA could possibly catch them. But like our fine speaker from Spain said, a criminal is always going to be a criminal.
Agree. Jadi bapak-bapak, ibu-ibu ada judul baru kalau mau lanjut disertasi. Okay, we have two questions from Vietnam. Does Spanish DNA database store the subject personal information? How to match personal information with DNA profile when a match is detected with CODIS? And then,
yeah, sorry.
Does Spanish DNA database store the subject personal information? How to match personal information with DNA profile when a match is detected with CODIS?
Okay, it's a very, very, very good question. Spain, like other European countries, are behind the legislation of Europe. And the legislation of Europe is very restrictive and very protective with the data of the people, okay? The DNA database is I don't know how to say in English, anonymized, okay? We couldn't store it, the affiliation data of the person with the genetic profile of the people, okay? We are separated in different databases. In Spain, the DNA database only have the genetic profile, only have the specimen category, and only have the specimen ID and the institution that is the institution in charge of this analysis of the person. And then they have separated in other internal database the affiliation data that will link with the specimen ID. This is the best way in order to protect the data of the person who DNA are inside of the DNA database. And this is very restrictive for the all European countries. We couldn't store it, the DNA with the filiation data of the person in the same database. Is the best way in order to protect that, for example, I have access to the DNA database and I will know what is the person that is stored in the DNA database. And this is the best way in order to protect. And we every year have an auditation of the DNA database from an expert of legal and bioethics information in order to control that the DNA database of Spain only store the information related with the DNA, not the information related with the filiation data. Okay?
You see, but that's very interesting. And that I just, actually, it occurred to me that one of the biggest fears of many countries, including Indonesia, is hacking. What if the data is hacked? So are you saying that since these databases are different, if the database for some reason is hacked, then that information will be useless?
That's right. That's right, Saruba. This is a good question. This is one of the most important reasons because we anonymize this data. Okay, because if the person said, okay, I have hacking the DNA database of Spain, okay, you have a lot of alphanumeric data, you have an specimen ID, but what is that? This is number that is possible that not so many people have to understand that. And this information is not related with any person because we don't have the filiation data of this person in the DNA database. Although the security measure, IT measure in Spain are very protective, we never have any problem related with the hacking because, well, in the Ministry of Interior, like another big agency, they have a very protective measures in order to avoid this hacking. But although this information for any problem is in the hands of bad people, is useful, they couldn't use them for nothing because it's only alphanumeric data. Information that is not used for them, for nothing, okay? And there is no link with the name of the person and with any filiation data of this person. It's impossible to identify what is the person behind these genetic profiles, okay?
Okay, right. So another question. When reporting results of matching genotype profile, do you usually respond with the probability of a match?
Yeah, with the random match probability and with the likelihood ratio. In Spain, all the institutions, when we have a match or when we have a compatibility in moderate or in low, in the case of identification of unidentified human person or unidentified human remains, we include the random match probability and the likelihood ratio, the hypothesis of the prosecutor, the hypothesis of the defense, in order to explain to the person that don't know nothing about DNA, to the attorney, to the judge, to the person that is the judge, to explain properly what is the meaning of this match. And it's very important for the recommendation of the different European red bug laboratories in Europe that we need to report the random match probability and the likelihood ratio for give all the information related to what is the meaning of this match for the crime and what is the meaning of the result that we obtain in the DNA database.
Okay, would you like to add something? Right.
What he said.
Agree. Okay, last question. This is also from Antoine Bui. Does the CODIS software help us calculate the RMP and LR? Is likelihood ratio. So do you think the CODIS software help them to calculate the RMP and LR?
Yeah, yep. There is a module on PubStat that gives you all the results related with the matching high, in moderate, in low, with the pedigree tree you have a rank, with the result, they included the STR, the Y chromosome, and the mitochondrial DNA. You have the result. The only thing that you have to take in mind that is that you need to include the frequency of your allele in your country, because usually the FBI provides you the frequency of the FBI. Obviously, the estimation population that they using in the study in the United States. Here in Spain, we have our own study in the frequency of the people here in Spain, and we include this information in CODIS. You have the possibility to include that, and you can see in every match, in every compatibility, in every result in pedigree tree, the result related with the random match probability and likelihood ratio.
Thank you. So is
You're
there
welcome.
no question from the floor? All right, John, would you like to add?
Nope.
Nope. All right. So I guess we should, let's applause for John and then for Eusebio. Thank you.
I will add one more thing though,
Sure.
and I can't speak for Spain or Europe, but in the United States, now there's a lot of private companies doing DNA analysis
Oh.
where they're finding genealogy
Hmm.
of parents. And law enforcement in the United States are starting to use those private companies also to submit DNA that we don't have matches for to find genealogy trees so we can start investigating off the results. And I'll speak from a personal experience. I was chief of police in 2017, and I was in Chicago at a conference, and I got a call saying, Chief, tomorrow's going to be a very bad day. And what happened was a police officer that was working in 1979 who was fired, they determined that his DNA through a private website was attached to a serial murderer and rapist.
Wow.
And so they
Ouch.
started, they found that 20 different people shared the same great-great-grandparents, and they started looking at those 20 people, and then they started getting DNA off trash, off cigarette butts that people would throw down. They started the investigation, and we found a serial murderer who was a former police officer who had been fired back in 1979 based on a private DNA company.
Wow.
And so again, there's several of them in the United States where people use that, and now law enforcement is starting to use those techniques also to conduct investigations. There's some questions in regard with that, if that's legally right, but so far our courts in the United States have not come back and said that's illegal for law enforcement to use those type of services.
Right. Right. Thank you, John. All right. If there are no other questions, let's meet Ivan. Oh.
How long your country keep the DNA profile in the database?
DNA profiles, we have to have specific court reasons to keep that DNA profile. We have to, I just can't go collect DNA off every person we arrest. We actually have to get a court order and prove that there's reason for us to collect that DNA, or it has to be mandated from the court. Once that DNA is collected, it's in the system. And like they said in Spain, we're keeping the names and everything separate. So if you hack into one database, you're going to need the other ones to, there's no way to generally to connect the two dots. But we're keeping that data unless a court comes back and says you have to remove that from the database for this particular reason. And I haven't heard of that quite yet, but I can see it happening.
I think what Ivan also wanted to ask was, what about the samples that are collected? Are they destroyed after the profile is created? Yeah, right? Yeah. Right.
Yes, they are destroyed unless we have a court authority to keep the samples. We just can't put people into a system. I can't go start swabbing people as I'm walking down the street. I can't do that. It is possible to do that, but I can't do that as a law enforcement officer. I need a reason and have to have a probable cause, and the courts tell me, John, you can go collect his DNA or her DNA. Terrorists, again, same thing. I still have to have probable cause. There's everybody's, no matter who you are, if you commit a crime in the United States, you have rights that you have. And I have to prove to the court and get their authority for me to do that type of investigation, to be able to do that, or that becomes tainted evidence that I can't use in court to help prosecute the crime.
Just to add to that, do you, and in your tenure as the police chief, when you arrested somebody, when you had probable cause, or when you basically had somebody in custody, was it not, did the law in California, did it not allow you to collect DNA without permission of the court, or was it still you needed permission?
Still needed going to be for permissions. It's still, even if a sexual assault, I'm still going to be able to, I'm going to need something to collect that type of evidence. I need authority to do that. And so we, again, because we don't want to charge somebody or put somebody into a crime that didn't commit that crime. So again, I need probable cause. I have to get that search warrant to go do it. Again, but I can, for other crimes, I can collect blood for a drunk driver, for somebody who's intoxicated while driving, but I can't put that into the CODIS system. It's just specifically for that crime.
Thank you.
Stephanie, would you like to add something?
So just one more question to add for Mr. Ivan's question. So after the DNA is collected and then it was put in the database, it will be in the database forever. So it can be used to be compared against any other DNA that will compared in the future.
Any other crime, DNA? Yes, we run cold cases. We might have had a murder that happened back in the 80s, 1980s or early 2000s that we can take today. Well, we might reopen the case and find DNA that we might have missed the first time, submit that in, and we can go back and compare it to all the DNA in the database. Once you're in, unless the courts tell us you got to come out.
What about after the perpetrator is released from the prison? Do you have any specific time allocations for the DNA to be kept in the database?
It's still going to be kept in the database based on the crime that they committed previously. And so again, and as they said, perpetrators sometimes do this again. The recidivism rate is pretty high when it comes to these types of offenses. So if you're in that system, you've been committed of a crime, unless the court says you have to take it out, that's going to be there, and we'll be able to compare it for until the end.
Because I know some of the countries that implement the DNA database, they have this time limitations on how long you can keep the DNA after the perpetrators is released. So I think it depends on the court and the law the country has. Yeah, thank you.
I would just like to add that, while John talks about mainly about US, I think this is a decision that governments make, their policy, and different countries have different policies. Like some like the US, have indefinite policy. Some countries, they have policies like in which you can, you have to delete the profile in some years, even after the convict has served his sentence. Then there is also the case of what if somebody is caught and convicted, but then found innocent? What do you do with their profile? So of course you have to, every country has their procedures. Some countries you can appeal to take your profile out of the database. But in my personal opinion, of course, is that it's just a profile, right? And it does not really hurt anyone. There's no privacy breach. So I think the most optimal policy is to keep, once a profile is there, to keep it, because it's causing no harm to anybody, right?
Great, thank you. Let's close the question and answer session with applause. Thank you, Dan. That's almost conclude our session today, but I would like to have closing remarks in bahasa Indonesia. Hadirin sekalian, seiring berakhirnya workshop perkenalan software CODIS, saya ingin menyampaikan rasa terima kasih kami yang tulus kepada semua pihak yang telah menjadikan acara ini sukses. Terima kasih kepada Bapak John Rafkern dari SITAB, Brigjen Pol Primaheru, Senior Superintendent Pak Kuswardani, dan Bapak Surap Maria dari DNA Forensia atas dukungan dan kolaborasinya. Kami juga berterima kasih kepada Rob Laverty dari FBI dan Bapak Eusebio Lopez Reyes dari Spanyol yang telah memberikan wawasan dan keahlian mereka. Workshop ini juga telah menyoroti pentingnya teknologi CODIS dalam investigasi kriminal, dan juga disaster victim identification. Kepada semua peserta, terima kasih atas partisipasi aktif dan dedikasi. Mari kita terapkan pengetahuan yang telah kita peroleh untuk memperkuat sistem peradilan kriminal di Indonesia. Saya juga berterima kasih kepada Ibu Dewi dan juga Ibu Ernesta yang telah membantu kegiatan ini dan juga tim dari Kategonia yang telah mensupport Zoom dan juga terjemahan. Terima kasih. Selamat sore. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan hati-hati di jalan. Have a good weekend.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you. Oh,